Episode 6 of The Last Dance documentary by Michael Jordan took a very dark turn into the life that Michael Jordan was and how people perceived him, the negative impacts, how people wanted him to become a failure as a role model. And we're going to take a look at all of that and more in this review of The Last Dance. Let's go. What's up, everybody? It's the Sports Code aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. This is part 6 or episode 6 of the Last Dance documentary presented by Michael Jordan. This is going to be a review on the last episode that's been released today of the Last Dance. So before we get started, please like and subscribe for more episode reviews. There's 4 more coming, man, and every Monday or every Sunday for you guys, you're going to be seeing something out of me to review, reflect on these. So please like and subscribe, turn notifications on. It will really help out. Twice a day. This is a Michael Jordan day, Michael Jordan Mondays, mate. So it's gonna be a thriller. And yeah, turn notifications on. Share the video with your friends, man. This will help out a lot. And we'll get started. So basically, the episode started with a commercial take when Michael Jordan says that you don't know what it's like to be a day like Michael Jordan, a week like Michael Jordan, a month like Michael Jordan, a year like Michael Jordan, etc., etc., etc. And it's basically how he's built up a reputation over the years of being this stand-up guy, this phenomenal person, this basically fan favorite in America, to the point where he was considered probably the most popular athlete in all of the United States, all of the world, really. So he ended up becoming that type of stature, with no one taking down, no one looking for negative aspects. But then things got to change for the worst, as they were basically trying to find something negative to say about Michael Jordan. That's pretty much how things ended up being. And there was this story or book with, I think it was Sam Smith. I don't know what it was called. But it was basically a book about Michael Jordan's negativities, how he was as a teammate, the negative things he did, punching people, screaming at people for terrible displays of defense and all of that, kind of changing how he was as a basketball player and how it affected him the most out of everybody, because they just basically tried to find every negative aspect about Michael Jordan, and they tried to turn it around on him. Before all of this, by the way, there was, of course, they showed the 1992 ring ceremony. This was before all of this controversy with that book, and also Bulls getting the home court advantage for the 93 playoffs against the Orlando Magic, and they performed very well. Then they started to find, they were trying to find things about Michael Jordan, and the book was called Jordan Rules. That was the name of the book. That was what it was called. Basically, finding areas of Michael Jordan that shows that he wasn't perfect. He wasn't the man that everybody claimed that he was, and all of this. And he has made mistakes in his life. And the one thing I have to say about this is that if you're expecting every single person in this world to be a perfect person, you're going to be disappointed 100% of the time. There's no one or nothing that can stop someone from being a perfect person. It just hasn't happened. Depending on the religions you believe, you might think that the God that you worship is considered perfect. For me, of course, Jesus Christ, God, is perfect for me, but there's no one else that you could be considered perfect. There's legit nobody else. You could think of all the saints and the angels. You could think of every single person, role model, that's put money into charities. You could think of rebuilding schools. You could think of helping children, providing for the poor. So many people have done so many things, but there's always going to be that one negative aspect of their life that people will turn to and say, this is why they're not a good person. It happens to everybody. It's going to happen to everybody. So for me, this was just again, this is the media turning its way into manipulating people to think a certain way, man. That's just how it is. They want to persuade someone as a bad guy, so they have to go and find a way to do it, and that's how they did it, man. So if you're, again, I'm going to say it again. If you expect every single person in this world to be perfect, not make one mistake, be the nicest person alive, do everything right and nothing wrong, you're guaranteed to be disappointed nearly every single time with everybody. Sometimes the imperfections of people are what make people perfect, and that's why Michael Jordan is the GOAT, man. It's not based on his perfections, because yes, his craft was amazing, but it wasn't perfect. No one's craft is perfect, but it was as close to perfect as you can get. But those imperfections, and to strive to make those imperfections his strongest points, is what makes a true inspirational player, which is what he was. And for me, this whole concept of negativity towards Michael Jordan based on teammates, the way he reacted to teammates, at the end of the day, you have to say it worked, man. Screaming at the teammates, he wants nothing but the best. So if he's going to scream at his teammates, at least scream at them for a good cause. If you're going to punch a teammate, at least punching them know that it's going to make them better. And there's been multiple occasions where we've heard Michael Jordan hitting a teammate. But for the benefit of the team, sometimes maybe that teammate needed to be hit. I don't remember who the teammate was. There was one about Steve Kerr, but I don't think this was the one. And at the end of the day, this is a championship team. And back then, things were a lot different than they are now. If someone got hit now, look at Mirotic and Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis hit Mirotic in the mouth. Mirotic flew back to Spain, man. He got traded. A few years later, he's back in Spain. That's the different mentalities. I'm not trying to disrespect Mirotic. Obviously, he had his own reasons. But the mentalities there are different. He wanted to leave after getting hit. There's a big difference in the mentality there. And getting hit sometimes made them win a championship. You never know. These things help teams sometimes. Sometimes it takes a hard lesson and a physical lesson to learn your mistakes. And I don't know. For many people, this was obviously seen as a bad thing. And for most people now, if this happened, it would be seen as a bad thing. And there's no shame in accepting responsibility for something that you did, even if it was not intentional or intentional, and moving on. And that's kind of reflected impacted Michael Jordan off the floor a bit, and how people perceived him, how people approached him, but not a whole lot, because still Michael Jordan was famous beyond belief back then, and no matter what you could write about him, people still wanted to see him, people still wanted to get his autograph, people still wanted all these things that Michael Jordan had, and wanted to be like Mike. And we said that in the last episode, be like Mike, and that's what people wanted to do. So there were a lot of people that were involved in that scenario with Sam Smith's book, and the main person targeted was Horace Grant, because obviously the relationship between the two, he even said that the relationship was great, and basically Horace Grant got used. He didn't try to manipulate to get a story out about Michael Jordan. He was just talking to his friend basically, and his friend used him. So I don't know if they're still friends. It's at the end of the day, Sam Smith is just doing his job. So that's that. It is what it is, man. You got to accept it and move on. And both of them are just doing their job. And in the end, the media, again, it does what it does. It reflects poorly on some individuals, no matter how good they are, no matter what rules they follow. That's the one thing that gets me about the media, man. But at the end of the day, they're doing their job. So it goes back to the 1993 period where they've won the double now, and they're looking to win the triple. They're looking to get the three-peat. They're looking to be one of the first teams in history to do it and to solidify themselves as a dynasty. And basically, they were on top of the world here. They were clearly the best team there, and they were talking about how the New York Knicks were going to be that team to knock them off the pedestal. And they brought up relations to Detroit, and the Detroit Pistons being the New York Knicks, that team that was ruthless and aggressive towards Michael Jordan, fouled him every single play, pushed him to the floor, played physical. They had resemblances of Detroit, and New York, in response to that, they took that, man, and they took it well, and they battled with Chicago the whole year, and it took a lot to beat Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and it was going to take a lot. But if anybody could have done it, it would have been the Knicks at that time in 1993. And there was a quote there was saying that the Knicks are what the Bulls were to Detroit and what the New York Knicks are for Chicago. That team, what the Bulls were to Detroit and what New York is to Chicago. That team to beat to get to the next level, and we'll see if they could do it or not. So it skips to the playoffs, and it skips to the Knicks being in a series with Chicago, and the Knicks end up being 2-0 up in these finals, man. And it all resembled to a story that was released after Game 2 about Michael Jordan going and gambling in New York, to which it brought up a whole situation about Michael Jordan being having gambling problems, addicted to gambling. He's going to gamble his life away. And Michael Jordan, in the end, he said something like, if I was in a gambling issue, I would have no house, my family wouldn't be able to live, my wife would have left me, and all of this. I don't have a gambling problem, I have a competitive problem. And to me, again, look, I'm no fan of gambling on any level, really, but sometimes if you have the money, you need to use it on something. And sometimes $10,000, they said it even in the documentary, $10,000 is like $10 to Michael Jordan, man. If he has it, he'll use it. And sometimes he's so competitive, he wants to win at a level where it doesn't matter if it costs money for him to win. He's going to use anything that he can get to get a competitive edge over anybody in any sort of scenario. So there was stuff about playing golf and gambling. There was stuff about just going to New York and gambling on coin tosses and stuff like that. Whatever the case may be, they were just talking about that. And again, it just reflects badly on Michael Jordan. They're trying to make him seem like a terrible person. And this has been going on from 1993 to 1998. These are two examples here of things that were happening. And that it affected his reputation. And especially in 1993, that like basically everybody was ruling him as he didn't want to win. He was going to throw in the towel. He's not interested. So we have to consider these situations when going into a series and you're versing the Knicks and all of these things, and you don't know what the mentality of a player is. So going into Game 3, the New York Knicks, they were probably considered the favorites at the time because they were 2-0 up. But Michael Jordan and the Bulls rallied behind MJ because they knew what type of person he was. And most of the Bulls players and fans knew that Michael Jordan isn't going to throw in the towel. He's not going to just give up. So in the end, they came back. They from 2-0 down, they ended up coming back and they ended up beating the New York Knicks. And the New York Knicks were in my opinion, one of the better teams in that era. And they don't get recognized as such compared to Detroit and compared to obviously the Celtics and the Lakers, but they were a very, very good team. And they brought, in my opinion, some of the toughest competition that MJ's ever faced. And I think the level of respect was clearly there between the two teams. But of course, if you're going to call out Michael Jordan's character, especially during a playoff series, you're going to get what you deserve. And it's not necessarily the New York Knicks' fault, but the media kind of brought Michael Jordan, the greatest part of him, out in a series where he just wasn't the greatest, and he clearly wasn't resembling that. And they ended up going to the finals, man. And they ended up going up against the Phoenix Suns and Charles Barkley and that team, which was considered the best team statistically wise with the wins in the NBA. Obviously, Charles Barkley won MVP that year. We all know Charles Barkley, one of the funniest guys on NBA TV at the moment. The guy's hysterical. But he meant business on an NBA court, and he's probably one of the best players to not win a championship. And I really rated Charles Barkley back then. I'm not a huge fan of the Phoenix Suns, but back then they were a force to be reckoned with, and they could have easily won a championship with them if things went any differently than they did. And again, they took it to the Bulls as well. They were definitely a very tough competition team. Obviously, you have two MVPs battling it out. Phoenix came very, very close, and there was a situation where the Bulls were going to take the championship home in Chicago, and Charles Barkley basically said no and dissed all those people that put those posters on the walls and the windows and everything to ensure that there's that they didn't win it. that they weren't going to win the championship on their turf. Is basically what happened. So he ended up going into Game 7 or Game 6, and Michael Jordan said, "I'm only packing one suit. I'm not going to play another 2 games. We're winning it in Game 6." And of course, Michael Jordan wins in Game 6. When he says something, he means it. Michael Jordan wins in Game 6 with Paxson's final shot, one of the most historic shots in NBA history, and he wins it. And they win the 3rd NBA championship, man. They win the three-peat. They finally get it. And again, they solidified themselves as a dynasty, man. And they solidified themselves as the greatest team, especially at that time, the greatest. Like, people can argue it now, but at the time, they were probably the greatest team to ever play the game of basketball. So it was impressive. It's fantastic to see. And as a Bulls fan, obviously, when you three-peat, that's something incredible, man. To the point where I wish I was there, man. That's all I can say. I wish I was there. So they also, again, with all these reputations, it kind of brought a negative vibe to this episode, because of course they're just bashing Michael Jordan pretty much the whole episode about his gambling addictions and his reputation and all of this. So he basically said, sometimes I wish I would never be a role model if I had to do it all over again, which sucks. But at the end of the day, it's just not everybody is made out to be a role model. Not everybody would like to be that role model. Sometimes people just want to go by their own business, play the game that they like, get paid, win championships, and go. They don't want to have to deal with all these things outside of it. That's what Dennis Rodman felt, I can assume, as well. Do you really think Dennis Rodman wanted to be a role model when he was playing in the NBA, man? He was trying to figure out who he was himself. So why would Michael Jordan want to be a role model? Some people do, and some people take on that role. And Michael Jordan did take on that role because he was the best player in the world. That he had to take on that role. But at the end of the day, some people just don't want to take that role. Some people don't want to be a role model, and I can understand why. If you had to go back 4 or 5 years ago, or even back into 2003, if we go look at LeBron, for example, LeBron might wanted to be a role model, but do you really think that's what he was thinking about at the very start of his career? Because if he was, then he was a natural born role model. Some people don't think about that, and some people don't want that light on their shoulders every single day of their life. But he ended up getting it. He did well with it in the end as well. Like, people can poke fun and poke at his negativities all he wants, but he ended up shining, Michael Jordan. And the guy needs a lot more respect than what he gets. So, again, that's the end of this episode. They also made a little sequence at the end showing what's going to happen next in the next episode. Finally, we're going to get to the playoffs of the 98 season, and I'm excited, man. The Last Dance is coming closer and closer to an end. I'm excited. I want to see what's happening. I want to see the playoffs, all the controversies that happen. This is when the heat gets at its finest. So I'm really looking forward to it. This episode was good. I think episode 6 was definitely better than 5, because at the end of the day, no one's perfect, and they're showing Michael Jordan's bad sides and showing why his bad sides made him who he is. And that's something that a lot of people don't share, especially nowadays. But when they do share it, it brings an element of emotional attachment to a player. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, turn notifications on. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another gaming video, or if you're just here for the Michael Jordan reviews, I'll see you next Monday with hopefully another 2 to come. Have a wonderful day. Take care and peace.